have you read the incoherent babbling of Donald Trump in this AP interview? It is both simultaneously incoherent but disturbing. The sentences that he actually formed that you could piece together and make sense of were terrifying to show you exactly how lost this man really is and how narcissistic this man really is. Okay, so let me share a couple of comments. Actually, bring up the first image. Let's pull up this one, let's get this one out the way. So he's talking to the AP. He says, okay, the thing I've learned to do that I never thought I had the ability to do, I don't watch CNN anymore. And the AP was like, well, you just said you did. And Trump, no. If I'm passing it, what did I just say? And he mumbles, you just said. And Trump was like, where did I say this? The AP had to remind him 2 minutes ago, Trump. And he said, no, they treat me so badly. No, I just said that. No, what I said, I stopped watching them, but I don't watch CNN anymore. Okay, this is the only like hysterically funny one. The rest are really disturbing. But this first one shows you how in the middle of a single interview, in the middle of a matter of 2 minutes, Donald Trump contradicted what he just said to the same journalist, to the same. I mean, it's like, it's worse than a child. My 6-year-old son tracks his lies better than this. And, 6-year-olds are just learning how to lie really good. Right. So this is ridiculous. I don't know if it's incompetence or he's used to not ever having someone call him on his bullshit. But this is Donald Trump. Now, that's the laughable part. Here are the quotes that are not laughable. When the entire conversation we had a couple of weeks ago about him at one point saying NATO was obsolete, and then the next sentence saying NATO was not obsolete, or the next, by the time he became president, we posited that this is probably because he had no idea about NATO. And we even discussed in great detail about how Donald Trump's learning curve, you could tell when he doesn't know anything about it. He says one thing, remember, I drew the curve, and then he gets up here and he finally learns about it, and he ends up becoming status quo. But he never gets to the point, like he's at the beginning, he's at the entry level of knowledge where he doesn't know. We posited this, and this is exactly what he finally, I'm surprised that he's willing to confess he's this ignorant. But this is what he said with regard to NATO. He said, quote, they had a quote from me that NATO was obsolete, but they didn't say why it was obsolete. I was on Wolf Blitzer, very fair interview. The first time I was ever asked about NATO, because I wasn't in government. People don't go around asking about NATO if I'm in a building in Manhattan, right? So they asked me, Wolf, ask me about NATO. And I said two things. NATO's obsolete. Not knowing much about NATO. Now I know a lot about NATO. NATO was obsolete. And I said, the reason it's obsolete is because the fact they don't focus on terrorism. Back when they did not, I can't even read this. This is how incoherent it is. I tried. I did my best. But this is the incoherent babbling of an uneducated, uninformed man-child. And one brief segue. I'm not really going to talk about Obama's comeback speech today, except for the fact that it was good to hear just a coherent sentence. I don't even know what he said. I don't know what the hell Obama talked about today, but it was one complete thought. I'm sure in that, I don't know how long did he talk. He could have talked 5 minutes. He could have talked 50 minutes. I didn't pay attention. I just heard, when I tuned in for about 30 seconds, I heard a complete sentence with a complete thought. I don't know what he said, but damn it, I miss hearing complete sentences from a president. Even if it's a complete lie, even if it's a complete truth, I don't care. It was a complete thought. And here we are with Donald Trump, who and now he's messing me up, right? He's not able to say a complete sentence, nor does he know anything about the world. This is what this is what the entire incident with NATO was all about. The fact that he does not know anything about the job that he's been elected to do. And once he learns the smallest amount about it, he aligns with the establishment that his voters sent him there to undermine. Like, again, and I hate to be the I told you so, but I mean, I keep saying I told you so, but go find my videos from last year. I said Donald Trump is so dumb that he's going to have to depend on the establishment just to make it through if he's ever elected president. And this has proven to be true. He knows absolutely nothing about the job. And so anything Mike Pence, Paul Ryan, whoever else, anything they tell him, he incorporates because, of course, it sounds good to him because he's never heard it before. All right, that's just one. On the F-35, in the same interview, he discussed, this is what he said about the F-35. He said, I saved $725 million on the 90 planes, just 90. Now there are 3,000 planes that are going to be ordered. On 90 planes, I saved $725 million. It's actually a little bit more than that, but it's $725 million. General Mattis, who had signed the deal when he came to his office, said, I've never seen anything like this in my life. When we went from a company that wanted to move more money for the planes to a company that cut, and that's actually the complete sentence. That's literally, that's the period. He stopped there. Did you understand a damn thing that I just said? That was his thought. I'm gonna keep going. And the reason they cut, same planes, same everything, was because of me. I mean, because that's what I do. Never mind the fact that the Pentagon, they negotiated lower costs for the 90 plane order with Lockheed Martin. Never mind that. That doesn't matter. The truth doesn't matter. I mean, I don't even know what to point out here. Do I point out the incoherent babblings of a madman or the lies, the inconsistencies? I don't know what to point out. But this is all still fun and games. It gets even worse. This is the part, the last two are problematic for two entirely different reasons. With regard to WikiLeaks, which is in the news this week and last week because of the potential of the Trump administration seeking charges against WikiLeaks, this is what he said. He said, I never heard of WikiLeaks. What the hell? I'm done. I'm going home. Good night, folks. He never heard of WikiLeaks. Never heard of it. And then he said, but that didn't mean that you, hang on, let me just read that. When WikiLeaks came out, all I was just saying was, well, let's look at the information here. This is pretty good stuff. No, I found it very interesting when I read this stuff and I said, wow, it's just a figure of speech. I said, well, let's look at this. It's good reading. But that didn't mean that you, this is so hard. So anyway, the AP chimed in, they said, but that didn't mean you supported what Assange is doing. This is a question for the AP. This is a response. No, I don't support or unsupport. You know, I honestly feel dumber every time I read a written sentence from Donald Trump. I swear, I feel dumber. Like, I'm a person that constantly tries to challenge my sentence structures, my grammar, my vocabulary. I'm constantly trying to challenge it. Sometimes I get into very ambiguous sentences that I'm not sure that I can make my way out of, but it's because I'm trying to convey a complex thought that's in my mind. But I literally feel dumber now after just discussing Donald Trump. Now, all of the rest of it was fun and games. This shows you the level of narcissism that Donald Trump has. And this is regard to his ratings when he was on Face the Nation with Dickerson, I believe his name is. He said on air, talking about CBS Face the Nation with John Dickerson, when he appeared, he had 5.2 million people watching him. And then he went on to say, it's the highest for Face the Nation, or as I call it, Deface the Nation. It's the highest for Deface the Nation since the World Trade Center. Since the World Trade Center came down, it's a tremendous advantage. So here Donald Trump went from being incoherent, babbling on his, just in the way that he does. I'm not even going to put any descriptors in there. And he went to compare his ratings on Face the Nation with the ratings that CBS got on the day the Twin Towers fell. Zero respect for America's greatest tragedy since Pearl Harbor. Zero regard for it. Zero regard for the families that are still here. Zero regard for anything except for the ratings. That's all that matters to him, that he would compare. And I hate to use it in the sense of outrage measuring, but clearly had anybody else used 9/11 to compare their ratings, their political career would be over. But we're so accustomed to Donald Trump being absurd and ridiculous that this is merely a footnote in another night of his ridiculousness. This is the president of the United States. This is who you've elected. And this is where we are.